What's going on? Welcome back to Fanatic Journey. So today we're going to talk to you about Polestar. I want to go over some of the current data points, what's really been affecting it, and what I realistically see happening in the foreseeable future. Before I get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So at the time of doing this video, it is up 2.49%, piggybacking off of the broader market's optimism, kind of after yesterday's crazy sell-off. So far this morning, very volatile. So 66 cents the high, 64.5 the low, and kind of low volume. So 1.5 million shares being traded, 13.6 is the average. So as you can kind of see right here, there hasn't been any transactions on the secondary market above $100,000 today. Last one was done yesterday for 116. So it does show some institutions are paying attention to it. Prior to that was two transactions on the 31st and then the 19th. So still kind of a nice improvement over this last couple of weeks rather than the last like 6 months. Nobody's been paying attention to it, which is kind of mind-boggling. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but as of late there hasn't been all that much in news. No SEC filing. So basically my last video, which was like 3 weeks ago, I've already covered all of that. So it's just rumors that's kind of floating around right now, so nothing concrete. Most likely we'll just have to wait up until their end of earnings or their next earnings, which is slated for August the 29th, pre-market, and this is the tentative estimate. So negative 14 cents for the earnings per share, 642.77 million for revenue. So that is very high. So setting the standards, I don't know. I feel like that is just setting Polestar up for a fail in my opinion, but what do I know? I'm not a financial advisor. You guys do your own due diligence. But when it comes to Polestar, like I said, they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. With it at 65 cents, they're still deficient with the NASDAQ. So they did get that notice that they have to kind of rectify it by, I believe it is January the 2nd or something like that, January 2nd, 2025. So they have 180 days to kind of fix that. But given the circumstances, it is fair to assume that they'll probably go down that whole reverse stock split territory because shorts are starting to increase a little bit. Right now, they're increasing 367.84 thousand shares. Works out to be 38.89 million shares overall are being shorted. And that equates to $24.49 million. So pretty crazy stuff, despite the massively kind of discounted price point Polestar is at, just still nobody's really paying attention to it. So right now the current PS ratio, as I brought up in the past, is 0.6. The future is 0.3. So yeah, even in comparing it to, for instance, let's look up Lucid, which just had their earnings yesterday, in fact, but their Lucid's multiples are 10.4 and then 6.8 for the future. So if you're going to compare Lucid to Polestar, for instance, which I know they're not necessarily exactly the same and same niche, but Polestar would be theoretically at probably $12. Give or take. That's if you kind of factor in everything, or maybe around the $10 range. But still, just putting it in perspective, Polestar is very, very discounted. And right now, even though the EVs have somewhat shown somewhat of a bottoming, you do see a lot of money sitting in money market. So I have brought this up in the past. So you do see record numbers. It's kind of sitting in money markets more than or in excess of $6 trillion. So people are still not really confident that the market is ready to kind of move higher. So once again, that might insinuate more pain coming for Polestar, and also kind of validates why shorts are and have been increasing over this last little bit. So this kind of is a good transition point into my main topic. What do I see happening with Polestar? Because if you logically look at the stock price, it's not really logical to assume and just say, hey, you know what, even though it's been going down over this last year, exactly roughly about 84.97%, now is the time it's going to change. That's not realistic thinking, obviously. But one thing that can come from this discounted price, with it right now having a market cap of 1.34 billion, and assuming it might potentially continue to trend down due to market circumstances and still Wall Street overlooking Polestar, it is going to get very hard to ignore coming from a acquisition standpoint. So there's a lot of companies out there that want to get into the EV sector, but it's very costly, and costly for the facilities, expansion. So Polestar has pretty much all the check marks. Like it's one of the 2 pure global EV plays aside from Tesla. So Polestar is very appealing to some entity that has probably too much money, but yet they want to continue to maybe take over the world in another sector, such as the EV sector. So when it comes to, for instance, a UAE entity or Saudi Arabia or from the Middle East, they have been really wanting to transition into EVs, renewable energy and whatever. So when it comes to Polestar and their discounted price, it does make sense that Polestar could be taken over, whether it be a hostile takeover, that's if Polestar is not inclined to sell, or whether they actually do come to an agreement. So if you are a current shareholder, regrettably, it might not be the best decision because especially the fact that it's gone down 85% over this last 1 year, they wouldn't really give you that full value back, right? Typically, they pay about maybe 40% over the current market share. So roughly around, I don't know, maybe $1. That's what they would offer. That's given to right now circumstances. So honestly, I do see Polestar being a takeover, and I don't know if maybe things have already started behind the scenes, because like Polestar right now has its back against the wall. Even though they're producing a lot of vehicles, of course, their last earnings was horrific and weren't the best, but they are still continuing to reinvest into the company. And yeah, they do have a fairly good product. So like I said, I think realistically that is going to be what happens in the next year for Polestar. Whether it's already happening behind the scenes or not, we'll just have to wait and see. But as of right now, looking at options, nobody's really looking at Polestar through options. So $2,000 in calls, $1,200 in puts. 60% of all the options being done so far are bearish. So there's not really any point to talk about this because they only have monthly chains, like coming from a common stock standpoint and also options. Nobody cares about Polestar. So this is why I think just the kind of leadership as well as who owns Polestar, so ideally like 𝗖𝗢𝗡𝗘𝗖𝗧, I think that is what has really caused Polestar to be seen as like and get blacklisted from being a good investment, if that kind of makes sense. So that's just my own opinion, of course. If you're looking at trading Polestar though, so with it at 65 cents, it is trading between this S2 and this S1. So 61.6 is going to be that next strong support, kind of bounced off of that. So that is ultimately like that 52-week low. On the flip side, 70.6 will be that next strong resistance / target. But given the circumstances, like Polestar's technicals are kind of looking very bad. It's breaking down on multiple different levels, and it's always going to continue to do that because it doesn't have that backing coming from institutions. So let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying Polestar? Have you been selling? And when it comes to Polestar possibly getting taken over, would you be for that? And possibly, who do you think it would be? Do you think it would be one of the big American OEMs, or do you think it will be some new entity that wants to enter into the EV market? What's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And one final thing, take advantage of this promo. It's actually been extended up until the end of August. Simply sign up for a new account, throw $100 at it, and they give you 5 free stocks. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.